Welcome new and old friends. My name is 2482, and today, 2 got us 4 ghost/paranormal stories. So, turn off your lights, make sure your doors and windows are locked. Things are about to get spooky. I'm a plastic surgeon, and I consider my work a form of art. This is the reason why I want my patients to feel every cut as I give them their new faces. Knock knock, don't answer. By Breezy72. A friend of mine's brother was possessed by a spirit. His mother had answered 3 knocks at the door in the middle of the night, to find no one there. After this incident, my friend's brother, we'll call him H, started behaving very strange. H was very energetic, bright, and active part of his family. Until one day he became very distant, catatonic, and erratic towards his family. His brother would say that he had a dark and emotionless look to him, which he had never seen in H before. Things kept getting worse, and the family were running out of options. So they went to the temple, as they were a family of Buddhists, and begged the monks to help. They agreed and set up a cleansing of the house to figure out what was going on. So one day the monks had come to the house to essentially do what's normally known as an exorcism, but through the Buddhist temple. The mother explained to the monks that she had answered some knocks on the door in the middle of the night. They asked the family if someone had recently died that they knew, and the brother told them that H's friend had committed suicide a few weeks earlier. The monks performed their ceremony and had determined that the friend who had committed suicide recently had come in spirit form and knocked on the family's door. When the mother had answered and opened the door, H's friend's spirit had latched onto him as he is someone he recognized and is familiar. When the ceremony had finished, the monks had coaxed H's friend's spirit from him into a bottle the monks had used as a vessel to capture spirits. They told the family the only way to fully get rid of the spirit is to release him somewhere on the street. So the mother took the spirit in the bottle and freed him in front of where the spirit's family lived. After the exorcism, H went back to normal and didn't have any memories of the past few weeks. He didn't recall any of the exorcism or any of his behavior. Moral of the story is, don't answer the door at night. Don't even respond to any knocks at all. If it's someone or something important, they would have called. Plus, there's nothing good on the other side of the door in the middle of the night. Stay safe, everyone. I reached for my credit card and placed a bid for $2,000 and was delighted when I won and got to choose my prize. I watched in excitement while listening to her screams as they followed my instructions and began to cut thin strips off her eyeballs. My Boss and the Cloaked Figure by Automatopoeia Utopia. I had a boss years ago with whom I was very close. We were of the same faith. He was even a minister in it. Furthermore, he had officiated at my wedding, and my RN wife had basically delivered his child when his wife's midwife was late to their home birth. We were thus quite close. A few years after our wedding, he suddenly had an epiphany as he viewed it, and his religious perspective and practices changed dramatically almost overnight to a very different position that he believed I too should adopt. It caused a strain on our entire relationship, as he began to insult and mock my faith even while I worked for him. It developed into a very negative daily environment for both of us. One day, not long afterwards, while at work, I watched a figure appear suddenly in the room we were in and ran towards him. It looked like a person in a hooded cloak, completely brown, like a stylized monk or a druid are often popularly portrayed, while its face obscured by the cloth. The figure rushed up from behind him and disappeared right as it reached him, as if vanishing into his body. I'm not one who typically sees spirits, thankfully, but this was right in front of my eyes in the daylight, although the figure was slightly translucent. I kind of freaked out and told him immediately what just happened. He became understandably aggravated and wanted to know what that was supposed to mean. But I was just as mystified as he was. His behavior towards our faith grew increasingly antagonistic in the upcoming months, which was so different than his usual amicable and loving disposition. He believed I was somehow a heretic for not accepting the validity of his religious epiphany, and claimed that in a decade I would no longer even have any faith, as he zealously proclaimed the superiority of his own new religious views. The strangeness culminated when I called in one morning to let him know my grandfather was dying, and I was going to be with him that day as he passed. And he gave me the choice: go say my goodbye to my grandpa and come on into work, or just quit right there. I could not believe he was forcing me to choose, but I made the right choice and thanked him over the phone for the opportunity to work for him, said goodbye, and went to be with my grandpa for his last moments. It's been over 10 years now, and I have seen him only one time since. Ironically, while I've increased my religious practice over the years, I found out that he left the faith altogether and is no longer religious in any capacity. Many times I have wondered if the rogue figure I saw that day at work running into him was some kind of spirit of confusion or deception that took him further away from his established faith. I still mourn the loss of that beloved friendship. Seeing a new cringe compilation show up on my subscription page always filled me with excitement. But that excitement quickly disappeared after hidden camera footage from inside my house started appearing in them. He told me to call him Joseph by The-trash-heap. This happened a few years ago, but it lasted so long and it was so scary that I can never forget it. Mom says that her and my sister Jay are sensitive to and able to communicate with spirits. I was never sure if I could. I was always told I couldn't, but now I'm not so sure. My sister Jay bought a glow-in-the-dark Ouija board from Toys R Us, of all places, and put it in her and my sister A's room, which they shared while I shared my room with the other sister C. My mother's mother died about 2 months beforehand, and it really messed us up. Everything was fine for about 3 weeks until I had a nightmare. In the nightmare, I was sitting on my bed with my legs hanging down, and I was facing my sister's room. It didn't seem weird to me that I was going through the walls, and I sat and I watched as a man adjusted his suit tie from where my sister's closet was. He had slick back hair and stubble all over his chin. He looked like a very classy man, except for how bad you felt by looking at him. He told me, "Once I'm free, I'm going to kill your mother." I can't recall if I said anything to him, but when I woke up, I felt like I was still there, sitting on the edge of my bed and staring at him. I could feel him staring at me. I told my mother that Joseph wants to get out of the board, and he was planning on hurting her. She didn't believe me and said that me naming what I saw made them stronger. A week later, my mother approached me and asked me how I knew what was going to happen, and I told her. It was horrible being in that house. That house was my home, and whatever he was ruined it for me. I couldn't even sit in the living room one day because I could keep feeling electricity and kept getting electrocuted because of him. And I told Mom that I think Joseph had a cause as to why I kept feeling it so badly while just sitting on the couch. A week later, she tells me that the homeowner just told them that a guy burned to death in 75. Since then, I could always feel him staring at me. He was always in the closet of my sister's room, like he was stuck there. And there was this strange, dark feeling around him that lashed out like tentacles in every direction. I could always see him in my mind. I was looking into the house from an aerial view somehow, and I would hear him with ears that weren't my own. I could hear him mocking me, telling me that once he was free, he would eviscerate my mother and the sisters who helped her. He would always yell about wanting to kill my mother. Sometimes I would wake up from a nightmare because his torment and teasing woke me up. Doors would slam. We would hear steps down the hall when everyone is in bed, and we would see people walking through the house, and we would walk to where they went and see no one there. Once, I was putting a giant container of my mom's stuffed peppers into our cramped backup fridge in the garage, because the fridge in the kitchen had no room, and as I got to the bottom of the steps, I turned back because I forgot to grab the mashed potatoes too, and I see the door slam shut by itself so hard that the door of the fridge behind me opens. One of the reasons it was down here because we usually slam the front door shut. Even when we moved, I was still connected to him by some weird aerial view. We moved a good 3 miles away, not that far in the long run, but I hoped it was far enough away from him. I was so wrong. He was so pissed off that we left, that I left, that his weird black energy I mentioned before had engulfed the whole house, and he was screaming at me to come back, that I had to come back, and that I belonged to him. I would constantly wake up with bruises on me from where he would grab me in my dreams. I was trying to ignore his existence, trying to force myself to believe that it was all imaginary. But the bruises kept coming and coinciding with where he would hit me in my dreams. And when I look back to the house in my mind with that aerial view vision of me, he would somehow grab that too. While I was awake, he once grabbed the arm of me when I was looking at him with that aerial view and dragged me down to look at him and demanded I return. I quickly left whatever version of me that even is and went to school. My friends in my second period English class all asked me what happened, and when I was confused, they showed me the large and dark hand-shaped bruise on my left arm. I made up a story about me starting to sleepwalk and how I must have grabbed my own arm really hard. Somehow they bought it, and it went away in 2 weeks. About 2 weeks after that, I was sitting on our couch in the living room of our new house and was watching TV with Dad, who refuses to believe in ghosts, and I don't blame him. And I could feel Joseph suddenly lash out again, and suddenly the left side of my lower back is burning in strips. I cry as a throb of pain suddenly hits from the burning, and my dad looks at my side where I told him the pain was. Dad gets pissed off and yells at me for messing with the cats, and I say I didn't and ask what it looks like. He takes me to the bathroom and takes me to the mirror and shows me the 4 bloody strips on my hip and says, "Not messing with the cats? Bullshit. Mammy, next time you leave the animals alone." I told Mom, and she brought over a friend who said that they had some ability to stop it. Now at this point, I'm half believing them. I convinced myself pretty well that what happened in the last house was all made up by me. I can't remember when I stopped seeing him after that, but when I look back nowadays, I don't see him in that house. All I feel is a faint shadow of what used to be Joseph. It isn't even him anymore. Just what is left, an imprint. This is the only thing that's ever hurt me. I'm relieved he's gone, but it was horrible. He tormented me over a span of 4 years. The police officer arrived at the house of a terrible accident to find an 11-year-old boy, dressed in green, on the ground dead. The officer then spoke to the boy's parents, who explained that their son Peter had jumped out of his bedroom window, convinced he could fly. Home reno caused backlash. Nervous. By The-trash-heap. So to preference, the reno was just a bathroom repair. We had to reline the drywall of the shower because of water damage. So nothing substantial to the point of the whole scene from the movie Poltergeist and finding bones in the yard. But still, stuff picked up since then. I had experienced a few things since we first moved here about 3 to 4 years ago, including hearing myself and my family members, seeing people who aren't there, watching stuff move or break on their own, and, although not the worst but the creepiest, I saw myself walk from my room to the back door. The me I saw had much shorter hair than I have at the time, and didn't notice me. We've gotten a couple regular special guests. One thing is in my parents' closet, and it has gotten much meaner since the reno. Another is a tall, blonde man that my sister and I have coined the name the Sood. He's more of a protective thing than others and usually comforts us when something lashes out. And the last one was a more tricky thing, stomping up and down the hallway and running into my face, knocking on my door and waking me up mid-sleep. And this was all before we had the bathroom repaired. As the repairs were going on, I heard 2 of my sisters calling me from different sides of the house when I was home alone, and one of them has even moved out. And I've recently had nightmares about Joseph, an entity that harassed me in a past house. This entity is his whole own thing, and he had left a physical handprint on my body. And he was standing over my bed and telling me that he was back. I said that I won't let him hurt me or others, and he laughed as he told me that he wasn't after me this time. I was having an argument with my father yesterday, and I turned because I heard my mother in the kitchen, and both my father and I watched as some items that were on top of the microwave suddenly shot into her face as she walked past. Some paper and plastic containers. It also broke some glass bowls that my grandmother had gifted us. This morning I woke up and had to go, as you do, but I noticed my father was in the bathroom, so I decided to wait in the bedroom to avoid another possible argument. Some minutes later, I heard the door open and him start petting one of our cats, ringing her collar's bell, before walking into and shutting his room's door. He drags his feet, so I know it was him I heard, but I opened the door and nope, he was still in there. He had actually started a shower as I watched the space trying to figure out what was happening, so it's no way it could have been him. My sisters and I are a little more than nervous, because activity has definitely picked up with my dad yelling at us a lot more than usual lately. My mom is trying to ignore that anything is going on because if they were bad, they would have shown me. And my dad is so against the idea of ghosts that he goes on full tangents about how stupid an idea it is for them to exist, despite watching lines of marks, like scratches from an animal, appear on my side once while watching TV with him. I had screamed out from the pain and he asked me what made me yell. I lifted my shirt's side a little and I could see I was already bleeding from the gashes. The person responsible for the Midtown Mall massacre had a look I was far too familiar with. It was not the visage of a cold-blooded killer, but the baffled face of someone formerly possessed. And with that, we're near the end of this video. As always, I like to thank the writers for letting me read their stories. But for the last two, by the same user, I really hope you get everything calmed down and Joseph disappears again. 'Cause that's not good. That spirit was scary. That spirit was scary. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and make sure it feels it. If you're new, subscribe and turn that pretty little bell to all notifications. Right now, I'm aiming for 750 subscribers so I can put out another special like I did at my 242 sub special. So with that in mind, make sure you share this channel, and the podcast of course, with anyone who might enjoy it. You'd be surprised how much that helps, and I'd really love to get you that special out. I've already got things in works for you guys. Of course, if you'd like to help in other ways, I have a Patreon, which on screen you can see all the patrons I have. I have merch, and I have a PayPal. All the links are down below, or you can go to my website, 242reads.com, and all the links are there, of course. Now, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Something I should be asking. Oh, right, a comment, but I gotta get you that Sunday word first, right? So, on screen right now and on Twitter are all the submissions I got last week. They really utilized that comment button. Now let's move on to this Sunday's word, which is ability, which means able to be used or obtained at someone's disposal. That's right, I went from utility to ability. What can I say? I have a little bit of a theme. But you have the ability to go down in the comments down below, or onto Twitter, adding me of course, and write me a sentence with this word, and you'll be on next week's video. But as always guys, thank you for just watching and listening. It really means the world to me to see how many views I get. It's been really awesome. Sleep tight and don't let 42 bite.